Okay, I think it's time to get started. For everybody on the call, we are recording this so that it can be available after the webinar. Thank you very much for spending part of your morning with us. This is Victor Sherpa, and I have Rafael Ome with me, and we have some pretty interesting stuff to tell you guys. We've been doing really interesting research with regards to different companies about goosing up their survey results using our latest generation of AI and analytics. And we wanted to give you guys a few insights. So there's a few themes that are starting to emerge from the work that we've done. And we thought that that could be very interesting and on topic today with regards to the Great Resignation. And hopefully we could give you a couple of pointers that you could take away and you could do in your regular job. So we plan to spend about 10-15 minutes on the presentation itself, leaving some time for Q&A. We're going to tell you about our take on what we see underneath the surface of the Great Resignation, working with lots of folks on this thing. We kind of are going to talk about how we got to this place a little bit. We're going to talk about what we've been doing as far as our solution. And so bear with us on that micro sales pitch. We're not really here to sell you on something. We're really here to kind of give you an insight into what we found and give you guys some real practical next steps of things that you might want to consider as you're planning your next activities for the next quarter or two. So this resignation is by far anything out of the ordinary that we've ever seen, ever. So it's not just you, it is everywhere. It is across the board. It is in all different countries. It is in the white collar. It is in the blue collar space. It is in the call center space. It is in countries in Europe. It's in countries in the Americas. It's in countries in Asia. Basically now that people could kind of work from home and Zoom away, they decided that they're going to have a completely different set of rules for them to kind of keep them happy, right? So what's going on? So what we think is there's like 8 or 9 factors all at once. And here's the bad news. The bad news is these factors are different for every single one of your businesses, right? And so think about it as there's this combination of different elements that you kind of need to test, right? Whether you're doing your surveys in this world or you're talking to employees, and you just got to kind of figure out what is that kind of recipe and combination that is working inside of your company, right? So let me give you guys a few examples. So what we do is we kind of use our, greatest stuff, the AI techie stuff, to kind of go underneath the surface to figure out how people are responding, what's really on their head. And this is, really the culmination of 20 plus years of Rafael's research, which he's going to tell you about it in a little bit, right? But here's a standard survey question. Are you growing professionally? Right? And a classic survey result, take a look at the top, and it says 96% are satisfied and 4% are unsatisfied. So what do? We report really good results, and we say no actions need to be taken on the am I growing professionally? And then we start focusing on stuff like, oh my God, we're not paying people enough money or whatever, right? Instead, if you take a look at how we look at the results, we kind of look at it and saying, wow, how committed are people to that answer, right? And the answers themselves could be quite different. And in this specific example, only about a quarter of people are really confident, yes, that they're growing professionally. And almost 3/4 of this particular organization, the people really aren't that certain, right? Growing professionally, the definition of that actually has changed during COVID. And so all of a sudden, they're just not really quite sure. Now, this might be interesting or not interesting, but if you've been doing the survey along with this for years, and then there was no hesitation for many years, and now all of a sudden they're really hesitating, there's some bigger issues at play. So now, if you took that same level of thinking at the question by question level, and you started taking a look at it at the macro level. Hey, listen, I've got 10 levers I could pull. I can only focus on one. Which one do I work on, right? In one case, you could sit there and say, wow, we have a very clear initiative, right? But then if you take a look at it with the hesitation and with taking a deeper look at the results, you might end up with a very, very different set of outcomes. And here's what we found, right? We've done, after doing many of these, what we found is this. Number one is there are some real issues that are universally very negative. You really got to focus and get rid of those, right? We know that. Now, here's the crazy one and a low cost one for everybody in on this call. Sometimes your employees really just need you to take a leadership position. This is super clear when it comes to initiatives such as kind of going back to work, right? So what's happening is people are like, well, I'd really like to have people in the office, but, people have, their own agendas that they've been kind of working on for a long time. The reality is this: your employees, it's becoming very clear, need you to take a leadership position. For example, what we've seen work is we have work from the office Wednesdays, or we are working in the office 3 days a week, and the second 2 days are remote. And once the employee, once the policies are set up, people love listening to them, because then all of a sudden a lot of that ambiguity is gone. Okay. And then the third thing, there's been so many things that you've been doing well. Celebrate those things that you've been doing well and tell your staff, hey, here's the things that we've been doing well. You guys say it all the time, celebrate it. Now, going down a little bit deeper to the technology, a little bit into the findings themselves, and a little bit into the science, I wanted to turn it over to my friend, Rafael.
Thank you, Victor. Well, I'll start with the bold statement. The great majority of today's surveys are not digital, they are analog. They are just taken or held online, but they are not digital. Why? Because people are not using awesome features that digital technologies can provide. And one of these features is measuring reaction time. How much time your brain needs to produce an answer. It has even a special section in cognitive psychology. It's called mental chronometry. How much you hesitate while providing an answer. Look, when I say, would you like to buy this product? You can give me an answer, yes, of course. Or you can give me an answer, yes, of course. See, for analog survey, this is the same answer. For digital survey, it's a completely two different answers. Can I count on you? Yes, of course. Can I count on you? Yeah, of course. See, analog does not capture the latency in response. And I'm not talking about seconds. I'm talking about milliseconds, which is invisible to our conscious mind. However, our unconscious brain registers it all, and our algorithms registers it all. So what produces hesitation? Well, first of all, someone may hesitate because he or she must consider all pros and cons. And if you have pros and cons, it means that no matter what you decide eventually, you are not likely to act upon your declaration. Or you hesitate because you have no idea. You scan your memory system, magazines, but you have no idea what the answer is. So you come up with the answer because you're a rational man, so you are not going to say, I don't know, but deep inside, you don't know. That's why you hesitate. Or you hesitate because you need to repress your instinctive answer because it's not politically correct. And you produce another answer that is politically correct, that is rationalized. Actually, this is something that brought to the table top American psychologists in the 90s, and they produced first ever tests that will be able to discover racial prejudice using questionnaire. Because with paper and pencil questionnaire, there was no prejudice at all. Using digital questionnaire, not online, but digital, then you can see the difference. So our technology is equipped with these special mental chronometry systems that can enable with millisecond precision whether someone hesitates or not. When we end our session and you go back to your daily routine, try to focus on the delay that is produced while someone is answering your question. And you will see that if someone produces an answer, no matter whether the answer is positive or negative, but with the hesitation, there is something going on. We're not saying that someone is not telling the truth, but there is something going on. Mark my words. And actually, we've been doing this for over 20 years. Initially, this was purely academic work. It all started at Harvard University. They created this implicit association test. I was one of the guinea pigs that was testing this for international non-English speakers, whether this is still a good phenomenon for them. Fortunately, it turned out that this is a culture-free phenomenon, so we can use it globally. And then it was a massive scale in mainly marketing research for huge companies. And recently, thanks to Victor and thanks to enormous developments in high tech, we employed machine learning and we employed artificial intelligence to better predict the eventual behavior. And now we are producing something that is really cutting edge and that has way more options to reveal insights than regular surveys. And this is an example. You see black and white bars and you see bluish grayish bars. Those black and white bars are regular surveys. And check this out. This is one of the big companies, pharmaceutical companies, one of the top 5 biggest companies in the world. And they were asked whether they have a good working atmosphere, and you see here 82% of them says yes. Then they were asked whether they think their work has meaning, and not surprisingly, 78% of them said yes. It's very consistent. And then there was a third question. Do you see your future as being with the company? Only 60% of them said yes, which is pretty surprising because first there was 82, 78%, and then only 60%. What happened with the missing 20%? Well, now look at the same survey, however, held digitally, which is we use our engines, RTA engines, and you see the results are way more consistent because I feel that my work has a meaning. There's 39% of people, not 78, but 39. And then I see future, there is 41% of people, not 60, but 41%. So those who see the meaning of the work are happy to stay within the company. See, and so our results are way more realistic. They are not ideal results. But they make sense. You can see here. Look at the 4 result. The HR function in my company is important, and the real answer is not 75%, but 20%. The HR department is not doing the best job they can, and that's why not 78% of people see their work makes sense, but only 39%. So HR department needs to try harder, we believe. And the last thing I want to show here is something that we very often meet, which is people think that the opinions are polarized among the workers. Here's the question. I feel less connected to the company in a remote work situation. There is 31 saying yes and 59 saying no. Whether our technology says 7% says yes and 14% has no. The remaining almost 80% have no idea, but they would never admit it. Why? Because they're rational people. They don't want to say, I don't know, but the truth is they don't know. And it has a very serious consequences. Because right now you see that your people are not polarized. It's not love and hate toward remote work. Most of them have no idea. In other words, there is enormous opportunity for you to make it right with your proper communication. See, so when you use traditional approach, you see that people are happy, they see sense in their work, and they will keep working at your company. We are showing that the situation is good, but not perfect. And we are showing you which elements you need to fix, starting with our HR department. So we are producing more insights. And by the way, our technology makes the whole survey much less complex because we are using only 2 points. We are not using 5 points, 7 points, 10-point scale, like Likert scale. We are using binary technology. Thank you, Victor.
Well, thank you, Rafał. So then we wanted to open it up for kind of Q&A. A few questions have kind of already come in. And by the way, you know, if there's something that you don't feel comfortable talking to us, just reach out. We have plenty of these sessions with, you know, super smart people that are interested in kind of figuring out what the results look like for them, right? The number one question that we got is, well, kind of, how can I use this technology with the surveys that I currently have, right? And the reality is it's super simple. Instead, we take your survey, we literally just kind of put a pointer, and instead of going into your current survey, we literally just kind of put it off to our servers, and you know, they do all this crazy AI stuff on top of it, and then you get your same results. Right now, the reality is you probably use a 7-point scale or a 5-point scale. You're going to get directional answers with the very first pass at it, right? And some of them are going to be super, super clear, right? Like, oh my God, we are doing this thing amazingly well, or we're missing this one. But if you really want to get the really good answers, we tend to rewrite portions of it to be a little bit more, like Rafał said, about the 2-point scale. It turns out that we get, as people, we get a lot more kind of visceral actions when we're asked to respond to a statement, as opposed to being asked a kind of an open-ended question. Kinga, are there any other questions that have come in through?
Yes, we have one from Maury Evans. Is an RTA-enabled survey dependent on a specific flow of questions get responses?
And the answer to that is absolutely not. Right. In fact, what we do is we take the flow that you currently have, we build these answers up question by question, and then we take it exactly the way it is, so you could see how it works with RTA or without RTA, and how it works with RTA. Now, for some people, hold on a second, Rafa, I'll turn it over to you. Some people, what we see is some of these questions and questionnaires are just too long. So we'll see like very low response rates and people dropping off after some, I would say, weirdly worded question where people just really aren't sure how they respond. We tend to take a look at those and work with you on potentially rewriting some of those awkward questions that might actually, and most of the awkwardness we find, it actually comes from it's being asked in one country and answered in another one, where some of the idioms and some of the, what people find as invasive or whatever is a little different. Rafa, if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say exactly what Victor said, that RTA technology works in a background. So you have your regular survey. However, it has to sit on our engine. But you have your regular survey, so you have your regular results, and then we give you the second layer, the results that we believe are much more closer to reality. So you will always get this black and white on the top and then this bluish on the bottom. So you don't risk anything except for learning twice as much.
Fabulous. And then I'm looking through this. Do you specialize only in HR sector? So the reality is this, right? We wanted to kind of move away from the generalist space where we've been kind of spending a lot of our time, and then we've been finding out we've been working with specific customers, and create much more of these very horizontal or vertical focused kind of findings, right? So that we can kind of pique your interest and say, oh, wow, I wish I had something like this. Now, what we're finding out is this, that a lot of the survey stuff is either transactional, like as in, hey, how did we do with you in this purchase at the store today? Or customer satisfaction, or a lot of times people are calling it the space now CX, or customer experience. And then they're starting to kind of call the employee space the EX, or employee experience. And those are the places where we tend to do a lot of work. Okay.
Yeah, we have one more question from Ava. Can I use your technology with a 2-point scale in an NPS survey?
Bravo.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even if you have 2-point scale, we are providing you a continuous measure from 0 to 1,000. So it's a continuous measure. Because again, we don't have yes, no only, but we have the response time. So we produce, using very simple binary scale, a continuous scale, which is amazing. Because for people, it's extremely simple. They just press yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And we see the whole variety of granular results.
Okay. So listen, if there's no more questions, what I wanted to do is kind of say we're still in the early phases of this stuff, and looking for a few people to work with as partners instead of just quote customers. And so if this is something that is interesting to you, then reach out to Mike at Response Time Analytics. And maybe we could figure out and help you figure out what's going on inside your organization and get you some very quick wins in this crazy, war for talent, and get those, the unwanted people leaving, get that rate down for you. All righty. Thank you so much, everyone. And the recording is going to be available for everybody on this phone call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.